On today's show, we explore how a teen rom-com novel called Better Than the Movies became an unexpected masterclass in living your life like a film, complete with soundtracks, slow-motion moments, rom-com tropes, and big, brave main character gestures. So, grab your popcorn, press play on your personal theme song, and silence your inner critic because it's time to Movify your life, rom-com style. Welcome to the Movify Your Life show, the plot twist you've been waiting for. I'm your host, Jessica Grace Coleman, and through the Movify Your Life method, I'll show you how to step into the starring role of your story and create a life worth watching. Every Movify Monday, you'll learn how to turn everyday moments into unforgettable memories, activate your main character energy, and use cinematic tools to boldly chase your biggest dreams, like the movie star you truly are. Because when the credits roll, I want you to look back at your life like it's the greatest film ever made, full of meaning, magic, and most importantly, zero regrets. And because I truly believe everyone deserves to live an epic life fit for the big screen. So grab your popcorn, cue the music, and together, let's Movify your life. Welcome to the Movify Your Life show. I am your host, Jessica Grace Coleman, and today we are talking about a book called Better Than the Movies by Lynne Painter, and this is a Movify Book Club episode. So, I stumbled across this book on Amazon when I was looking for movie-related novels, not really sure if anything was going to come up. And the front cover has a cartoon couple doing all kinds of rom-com things. There's like the dude holding up the boombox. They're doing the lift from Dirty Dancing, kissing in the rain, like all the really obvious rom-com tropes that we all love if you're a fan of rom-coms. So I knew I had to read it. Now, I am, at the time of recording, a 39-year-old woman. But I still love reading teen books and watching teen movies. And I don't know, maybe it's a kind of wishful thinking thing, a nostalgic thing, like wanting to be young again. But when I really think about it, I completely hated high school, so that doesn't make any sense. But I did love watching American teen shows and films when I was a teenager, and I guess that never left me. American schools just seemed so much cooler, and American colleges, and I loved college movies as well. And actually, when I went to the University of Colorado for my year abroad at uni, my sandwich year, I felt like I was in an American college movie the entire time. Like all the sports things, all the stuff around that with the marching band and the cheerleaders and the tailgating, like it was all just straight from the movies. So I loved it. But I know a lot of people my age who still enjoy watching teen stuff. So it's not just me, but maybe it's, like a kind of longing for a time when things were simpler, especially with me, like my age, looking back, you sort of look back with rose tinted glasses, don't you? Like there was no smartphones, no loads of technology. It was just a simpler time. And yeah, if you're also like middle-aged and love teen dramas, let me know so I don't feel like the only weirdo out there, please. Thank you. Now, as I was reading this book, again, it's called Better Than the Movies by Lynne Painter. I dog-eared some of the pages for any bits I knew I wanted to talk about on the podcast. Sorry, book. Mainly as my memory is terrible and I didn't want to miss anything. So I'm going to be going through those parts I highlighted in this episode. And don't worry, I won't give away any spoilers in case you want to go and grab this book to read yourself, which I highly recommend doing, especially if you're a fan of rom-coms or just like classic romance movies, I guess. But first, I'm going to read you the book summary from its Amazon page. Can't get my words out today. So you know more of what I'm talking about, and so you can decide if this book is for you or not. So here's the blurb. See where it all began with the best-selling romance everyone's talking about. Every movie you've ever loved in one epic love story. Perfect for fans of Emily Henry and Ali Hazelwood. This sweet and funny, Kerry Winfrey, author of Waiting for Tom Hanks, teen rom-com is hopelessly romantic with enemies to lovers and grumpy ex-sunshine energy. Now, I don't actually know what that means, which just tells you how not down with the kids I am. Anyway, I'll continue. Liz hates her annoyingly attractive neighbour, but he's the only in with her long-term crush. Perpetual daydreamer and hopeless romantic, Liz Buxbaum gave her heart to Michael a long time ago, but her cool, aloof, forever crush never really saw her before he moved away. Now that he's back in town, Liz will do whatever it takes to get on his radar and maybe snag him as a prom date, even befriend Wes Bennett. The annoyingly attractive next-door neighbour might seem like a prime candidate for romantic comedy fantasies, but Wes has only been a pain in Liz's butt since they were kids. Pranks involving frogs and decapitated lawn gnomes do not a potential boyfriend make. Yet, somehow, Wes and Michael are hitting it off, which means Wes is Liz's in. But as Liz and Wes scheme to get Liz noticed by Michael so she can have her magical prom moment, she's shocked to discover that she likes being around Wes. And as they continue to grow closer, she must re-examine everything she thought she knew about love and rethink her own ideas of what happily ever after should look like. Better Than the Movies features quotes from the best-loved rom-coms of cinema and takes you on a roller coaster of romance that isn't movie perfect, but jaw-dropping and heart-stopping in unexpected ways. Okay, so let me start talking about what I like about it, I guess. So I love all the movie quotes that were just mentioned there. Each chapter starts with one, and all the movie references made throughout the book, really. So as I said, if you're into rom-coms especially, you will appreciate this. So the author talks about When Harry Met Sally, 10 Things I Hate About You, 500 Days of Summer, Notting Hill, The Wedding Date, Bridget Jones, You've Got Mail, like all the classics. So I enjoyed that. And she uses a lot of movie imagery, like things lifted straight out of romantic films, similar to the cartoon graphics on the cover. And this bit in particular made me laugh when describing the guy she likes, because this is the kind of stuff that goes on in my head, not necessarily when a childhood crush goes past. But just generally, my mind is always trying to make things more cinematic, which is why I started Movify Your Life in the first place. But here's a quote from the book. My childhood crush moved in slow motion, with tiny blue birds chirping and flitting their wings around his head as his golden hair blew in a sparkling breeze. Super over the top, super cheesy, and a full-on movified description. I love it. So the main character, Liz, and her friends talk about movie tropes all the time. And as I mentioned in the summary, this is an enemies to lovers trope, which is a classic. You'll get all your Hallmark Christmas movies. A lot of them are enemies to lovers. Either they used to know each other and they hate each other, or they just met each other and for some inexplicable reason they hate each other on sight. That happens a lot. And there's also hints of the best friend from childhood, now enemies trope. And at one point they talk about your, quote, racing to the train station dude, which I loved. You know, the only person you would ever leg it to the train station or the airport or the docks, I guess, to stop them from leaving, like that obvious movie moment. If you have someone who you would go and do that for, you know, they're probably the one, or at least worth pursuing. Or maybe the dude is the one racing to the train station to stop you from leaving. Whatever, it's like your endgame guy or gal. You shouldn't settle for anything less than your racing to the train station dude or dudette, which I agree with. I love how the main character, Liz, sees herself as a character in a movie, which is what I talk about all the time, and she lives her life around the kind of film she wants to be in. Also very Movify Your Life. So as explained in this section. In my head, my life was a rom-com and I was living it like a Meg Ryan type character. Cute dresses, good friends, and the eventual appearance of a boy who would find me lovely. Keg parties played no part in that. They belonged in a Superbad kind of life, right? And that made me laugh as well because when I was in Colorado, one of my favorite things to do was to go to the cinema or movie theater near campus. I went so much, and the first film I went to was only a few days after I got there, if that, I think, and I got invited by someone I didn't really know, but who's now one of my best friends. We don't see each other a lot, but when we do, it's like, you know, you're picking up straight off how you left. And we went to see Superbad. It was a very American thing to watch when you've just got to America for the start of your year abroad. But yes, I think I'd rather be living in a Meg Ryan movie over Superbad. Now, one of the main themes running through the book, which I love, one of the main things I wanted to talk about in this episode, is Liz's hobby of creating movie soundtracks for her life. This is so Movify Your Life. I talk about this all the time. Creating your own personal soundtrack, creating your own personal theme song with help from AI can be really fun. But also just curating playlists and things and having a pump up song or multiple songs to get you in the mood for going out there and kicking ass. This is part of my movie star alter ego process as well. One of the steps is to create your own soundtrack or your own theme song. And if you want more info on this, the movie star alter ego starter kit I've created for you, you can go to movifyyourlife.com/free and I'll send you the guide. And there's All the information for that is in the show notes as well. But back to the book. So Liz's hobby is creating movie soundtracks for her life. So this is like both as actual playlists, like, mixtapes you create for certain events or days or people, and songs to play. And she loves coming up with the perfect song while the thing, whatever it is, the event, is actually happening to her. So for instance, we have this part. I held the red solo cup between my hands and looked around. Up All Night by Mac Miller would be the perfect choice if a camera were to pan out and capture the energy of the party. And I love that bit for several reasons. First, red solo cups were a huge part of my year abroad. Another thing that made my life that year feel like a college movie. I still occasionally buy them and use them as they remind me of that epic year. But I also love how, as well as curating a soundtrack as she goes through her life and matching songs to certain things that are happening to her, she also thinks of what the camera would be doing in this scene if it were a movie, panning out to capture the energy of the party. And I think about this all the time. It's one of the sort of things I encourage you to do as part of Movify Your Life, is to think about moments being scenes in the movie of my life. And I love this addition of camera work when you're imagining it being on the big screen. I like to tell people to imagine there are camera crews following them around, and what would they do if they knew, they had an audience watching. You'd probably do things a bit differently. You'd go out there and do some exciting things instead of staying in and putting things off and staying in your comfort zone. So I really love that moment in the book. So as I said, Liz also makes playlists for certain people in the book, like a modern mixtape. And I've always loved the idea of a mixtape. And there's a playlist in the back of the book taken from scenes in the novel that you can create yourself and listen to, which I love. This has become quite popular in modern romance novels these days, I think. I've seen it in a few. And weirdly, one thing I've noticed is that they always have at least one Taylor Swift song on, usually more. And I talked about Taylor Swift a few weeks ago, so that's quite funny.
Okay, movie star, real talk. Are you tired of feeling like a background extra in your own life? Then it's time to step into the spotlight and activate your main character era. And I've got just the thing to help you do it. Grab my free Movie Star Alter Ego Starter Kit, your behind-the-scenes pass to creating the bold, brave, action-taking version of you who goes after their dreams like the star of a blockbuster. Inside, you'll discover how to design your alter ego, choose your transformational item, pick your theme song, and build the rituals and confidence cues you need to start living your life like the epic movie it was meant to be. So, if you're ready to rewrite your script, roll camera, and finally take the lead, head to movifyyourlife.com/free to download your free starter kit now. That's movifyyourlife.com/free. Your next scene starts today. And now, let's get back to the action.
So, as well as several scenes descending into slow-mo when her crush is around, the writer also makes use of certain tropes we often see in rom-coms, like I sort of mentioned, like time slowing down so much that all the guy's words are really like slow and low and stretched out. Like she literally can't hear him properly, with her heart pounding in her head and the slow-mo making everything elongated and surreal. And I think the author does this really well. So there's like this part. Michael did a slow nod of consideration and then looked at me. 2 weeks, huh? 2 weeks, huh? That was a weird voice. Anyway, so I like how she sort of puts that into writing, and you know exactly what she means if you've seen these kinds of films. So as I said, as well as creating soundtracks and playlists and mixtapes, the character also uses music as a soundtrack to her life actually in the moment. So there's a bit where she's watching her crush and his friends play basketball, and she's sitting on the sidelines watching. She doesn't want to take part. And she puts on Beastie Boys' Sabotage song and listens with her headphones with the music turned all the way up to go with what's happening on the court. Like she specifically chooses a song for that situation. And I really love this idea, like not only of thinking what song would go well with a certain situation, which is quite fun to think of anyway, and making a playlist later, but also putting on your headphones in the moment and listening to that song as things are happening. Now, obviously, this doesn't really work if you're having a conversation with someone or you need to be paying attention to what's happening around you. But otherwise, I think it's a great way of movifying your life in the moment. So especially if you're on your own, if you do a lot of solo traveling like I do, you could curate it to whatever you're doing. Like if you're on your train, you've got loads of, really beautiful scenery outside. You could create an epic soundtrack to go with that. There was one moment in Switzerland when I was staying near this epic turquoise lake. And I booked a room in a hotel. It was like the teeniest room ever, but I booked it because it had a balcony and a view of the lake. And I just sat out there. I had a tiny bottle of sparkling wine, I think it was. and I put on my headphones because there were some other people outside on their balconies. And I just listened to like some of my favorite songs while I was looking at one of my favorite views, a view of a lake with like hills and mountains around. And it was just like a really magical moment, even though I was on my own. So I totally agree with using music for a playlist, but also in the moment to movify your life that way. Really, really good. She also mentions movie moments, like scenes you'd expect to see on the big screen, which if you know about Movify Your Life, you'll know I talk about magical movie moments all the time, which is kind of the same thing. So, for instance, there's a part in the book where her crush has pulled her onto the basketball court after the Beastie Boys part and is teaching her how to make the perfect shot. And she says, it hit me at that second that we could be about to have a movie moment. No spoilers, but it doesn't quite work out that way. And there's also the moment when Liz decides to make a grand romantic gesture after her stepmom tells her, be brave enough to go big. Now, I think there's this moment in every rom-com, pretty much, but I think it's just good advice for life in general. Go big, do big things, make big gestures, movify your life and movify someone else's life, because life is short and acting small isn't going to get us anywhere. And all this music stuff happens throughout the book. And then at one point we find out, when she's talking to someone else about it, that her dream is to become a soundtrack curator for films. I think they're called music supervisors, like taking her passion and making it into her career. And that's what she plans to go to college for. And I really love this. Like, she already has all the experience of curating the soundtrack of her own life. And I've never really thought about it before, but this sounds like an epic job. Like, I would quite like that job myself. I actually always wanted Cameron Diaz's job in The Holiday, where she works from home as a movie trailer producer, because I really love film trailers. I can watch them for hours. I just love how it's sort of like a mini movie condensed, and you don't get everything, but you know, you get enough, and there's a great soundtrack and there's the narration, like, in a world where someone is movifying their life. Like, yeah, something like that. I always thought that was a really cool job, but now I've heard of this job, I think that is an excellent job as well. So the music thing is the big takeaway I got from this book, other than just really enjoying it. Pretty funny as well, because music, as I've said, is so important in our lives. And I talked about this a lot on the podcast and in my content in general, but music is so evocative. You hear a song you haven't heard for years, and it takes you right back to a memory from your childhood that maybe you've forgotten until that song came along again to remind you. So we can actually use this to our benefit and use music as triggers. Like I mentioned before, you can play a pump-up song every morning before you get to work with whatever you're working on, or if you're working on a passion project or something, to get us in the zone. Or you can have a certain song on standby that you know will always get you up dancing if you need to move your body, but you don't feel like you have the energy that day. And talking a lot about travel as I do, entire trips can be remembered by a song or an album. So when I stayed in a co-living house in the Basque Country in Spain for a month a few years ago with 20 plus other digital nomads, and I have mentioned this on the podcast before, the song Take On Me by Aha kept popping up all over the place. Like, anytime anyone put on a random playlist, it would be there. It would be playing a bar we visited or a restaurant. And then, of course, we started playing it intentionally because we were like, this is our song. But now, whenever I hear that song, I'm taken right back to that amazing month and all the incredible people I met and that lovely house we were in. And it's amazing. And when I was younger and we used to go on family road trips, we would, before the days of Bluetooth and iPhones, smartphones, playlists, Apple Music, everything, or Spotify, we would listen to the same album over and over again. So now, Fastball's All the Pain Money Can Buy and Garth Brooks' The Hits will forever remind me of trundling around Spain and the US with my parents and my brother. And also that's where my love of country music came from. And I encourage my clients to use music to their advantage when looking at their lives as a movie. So listen to music that lifts you up. Choose a personal theme song for your movie star alter ego. And as I said, you can even create your own with fun AI tools like Suno. And as I'm sure you know, certain songs and pieces of music can turn your entire day around. They can change your mood in an instant, bring back happy memories, and give you the courage and the confidence to go out there and get shit done. And what Liz does, the main character in this book, curating her own soundtracks for every day, or every event, or every relationship she has, is a brilliant way of using music to movify your life. So those were the main points I wanted to make about the book. I have since seen she has a sequel called Nothing Like the Movies, which I promptly ordered and is waiting in my to-be-read pile. which is quite large, but I'll get onto it soon. Going by the title, Nothing Like the Movies, I'm not sure if I'll be able to use it as a Movify Book Club pick and do a podcast episode about it, but hopefully I will be able to use it. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed this book. If you're a movie lover, especially if you're a rom-com lover, you will love it, especially if you like teen stuff like I do. And I hope this episode has got you thinking a little bit about how you can use music and other movified elements to make your life feel more like an epic movie with you as the main character. And as I said, a lot of the things in this book are things I talk about in terms of Movify Your Life, slightly different, but the same themes, patterns, vibes. So I really enjoyed it, and I think you should check it out too. It is called Better Than the Movies by Lynne Painter, and you can head to lynnepainter.com. That's Lynn painter.com. She has loads of other books too to check out. So after I read Nothing Like the Movies, I might check out some of the other ones. And yes, that is today's Movify Book Club episode, my Better Than the Movies book pick. And I hope you enjoyed listening, and I hope you enjoy the book if you go and read it, which I highly recommend. Thank you for listening, and until next week, until next Movify Monday, I will see you on the red carpet.
Thank you so much for listening to the Movify Your Life show. Before you go, don't forget to sign up for the main character memo mailing list at movifyyourlife.com/list for exclusive tips, treats, and behind-the-scenes magic. And if you enjoyed this episode, I would really appreciate it if you could please subscribe, leave a review, or share this podcast with a friend. Let's spread that Movify message far and wide, because everyone deserves to live an epic life fit for the big screen. I'll see you next week for another Movify Monday. Until then, that's a wrap.